What's up, people? I am back for another video. So tomorrow I'm going to do the Prowler. It'll probably be like tomorrow during the day. But today, we're going to do Terrifier because I want to at least get this out. So we can do Terrifier 3 next weekend, or 2 next weekend. And the first Terrifier, I remember watching this some years ago. I know technically Art made his debut in some film called All Hallows Eve. But that's like an anthology film, at least what it looked like to me. And I watched the art part, which was good. But to me, I figured I didn't want to do a whole review on that since that's not necessarily about him. So that's why I just stuck to the Terrifier specific films. The first Terrifier, I remember watching a couple years ago. Or I watched it around the time the second one came out because I was invested. I saw the face of this killer and I'm like, oh, who is this guy? I'm like, oh, this is this new slasher character called Art the Clown. And, you know, the first Terrifier is very much, the way I would see it, and I'm going to probably title the video this, it's a concept film. It's very much, there's no story. I'm just going to keep it real. There's really no story. He's stalking these girls. Tara is the lead, but there's not much to her character. You know, they leave a party, they encounter Art at a pizzeria, and he just follows them. Essentially, goes around killing people. And yeah, you get some really crazy kills, but there's nothing else really to the movie. So that's why, I don't even really know why I have the Wikipedia, because really nothing to the movie, in that sense. It's more about what you get from Art as a character. They wanted to show you, see the concept could work. Terrifier 2 is where you get more of a lore. You actually have a named protagonist with Sienna Shaw, I think is her name. She's the lead in the second one, and she's going to be the lead in the new one that's coming out. So, you actually have a story now. And lore. There's no lore in this. It's more about just him going around. It's very much a concept. And I think that's why I'm going to be very lenient. The acting isn't that great. Tara, the lead, was pretty good. But, her friend Dawn, I thought was pretty bad. I'm going to be honest. The way it's shot, you can tell the camera they used, it's I'm going to be real, it's like a fan film camera. It's like a camera you would see in a fan film. You can tell the quality. This film's only hour and 20 some minutes. It's very short. Movie goes very quick. He follows them, and they're waiting at outside the building, and then Art follows them and kidnaps Dawn, and then basically manages to capture Tara and forces her. The scene that mostly this movie is known for. Hold on, fix the. Anyway, so the scene that this movie's mostly known for is a scene where you see Art slice Dawn in half with a saw. Yeah, so that's the most iconic scene. This movie is more known for moments than the actual film, but the bit you do see of Art, Damien Leone is the actor who plays Art the Clown, or is he? Hold on, no, David Howard Thornton. Damien Leone's the director. David Howard Thornton is the actor who plays Art. And I thought he does really good here as the character. Just the bit you see of him, you get no backstory, which I actually do like. Even in the second one, you don't really get a backstory. You get a little bit more, but it's not enough to tell us, for you to get a backstory. So if I were to give this film a rating, if I were to be objective, a 7. It's not objectively a great film. There's no story. I'm gonna just be real. It very much is. I've been kind of calling it. It's a concept. It's very much more of a concept film, where it's more ideas and it's more of an idea. You don't get. There's no real story. No actual You don't even have really I'll admit, Tara, the main lead in this, isn't that compelling. She's hot, and then she has a sister who's coming to pick her up, who I think, if I remember right, gets killed. Yeah, she gets killed. Okay. No. Wait. Oh, Vicky. Vicky ends up being the final, or not Tara. You know, it's weird. She's listed first, but Tara actually, I forgot she does get killed. So, Vicky is basically the lead of this film. So, and then there's like a cat lady you see randomly. There's no real characters, right? Aside from really Tara and Dawn, because Vicky, her Tara's sister, you barely see. You see her like, there's a scene where you see her driving, and then she comes later, but she's not like, I wouldn't really call her a character versus like, and then there's like Mike, who's like this janitor guy who works at the building, who lets Tara in because she needs to use the bathroom. Yeah, so there's like not a lot to this movie. This movie's very bare bones. I will agree there. But I think for what it is, it's fine. And like I said, it's more of a concept film. And I think if you know that going in, if you just, it's only an hour and 20 minutes. It's not a long movie. I think you can get through it. And this is like obviously what Damien Leone's concept of what the character is going to be. And two is almost like more what he wants to actually do. So I can't wait to talk about that. I'm going to try to do it before Sunday next week for sure. But yeah, overall, like I said, I'll give it a 7. I think it still works as a slasher specifically. And there's some nice, like, practical work. The scene where he, like, kills, like, the pizzeria guy's boss, and he, like, puts, like, basically, kind of like what Halloween 2018 did. So I really wonder if Halloween 2018 saw this movie and did that. Because this movie came out first. It came out in 2016. I wonder if they saw that, because there's a scene where Michael, it's clearly supposed to look like a pumpkin. Like, you know, it's like the fire, but it's someone's face. They basically, I really wonder if 2018 now really got that from this movie. Because I kind of forgot that they did do a scene like that in this movie. So they don't hold back on the kills. There's some nice gory moments in this. The plan is to, I want to watch that new movie, The Substance, sidebar. I want to watch that. I was supposed to watch it. I was actually going to probably watch it either yesterday or today, but I got caught up. It's like, you know, I had to do the Vince podcast yesterday, which Pin Down Podcast, we talked about, we did an entire episode about the Vince McMahon stuff, the Vince McMahon doc. Link will be in the description. Watch that latest episode. But anyway, I got caught up with that today. I kind of just forgot, I'll be honest. So I don't know if I'm going to go to the theater and see The Substance. I just might find it somewhere and watch it. But I'm going to watch it and maybe sometime this week do a review. Especially if it's something new that's really good, because I'm hearing a lot of good things, especially as a person who is in a horror. So yeah, I'll talk about that film soon. So that'll be reviewed soon. Same with Killer's Game. Circumstances just made that harder to review that. And other movies I had to make a priority this week. So anyway, I think besides all that, tomorrow I will be reviewing, as I said, The Prowler, which I was actually going to do before this movie, but circumstances, I just figured let's get this one out so we can then just have 2 to worry about. And then The Prowler I can just do tomorrow. I can just knock that out like tomorrow. It'll probably be tomorrow afternoon or something like that, because I don't have to work tomorrow. So, and I've already watched The Prowler. The Prowler review probably will not be long. It's a decent movie. It's another kind of concept movie in the sense it's more about the effects. Tom Savini worked on. He had some really nice kills. But there's nothing notable about the killer. I don't even think the killer really had a name. Or I think he did, but I don't remember it. I just say guy in army outfit. You know? The movie itself is fine. It's serviceable. It's a serviceable 80s kind of slasher. That post-Halloween came out like the same year as like Friday the 13th kind of deal. Actually, no, it came out the same year as the second Friday the 13th. So it's that post-Halloween Friday the 13th slasher. But yeah, it's nothing really special in the sense the killer's not memorable. Even the killer, like I think Cropsey, I think is the name, from The burning is much more memorable, and that was a one-off movie, but the killer is more memorable in that than in this. It's just, so in that sense, I will kind of say the film's weak, but I think it's fine. It's a good concept film, good effects film, like if you just want to watch just for some good kill effects, and it's not too long, so overall, I think I give that one like a 6.5. I think, for me, if you're going to do a slasher, like, even a one-off, My Bloody Valentine, if we're not going to count, I'm not counting the remake, just because those are two technically one-off stories. They're not sequels, so even in that vein, the Miner, not necessarily, he doesn't have a name, because it's more about the image. The Miner is not iconic, but you remember the Miner, even though he's only really in one fucking film. But there's just two different adaptations of the same film. It's not necessarily like a sequel. He's not like Michael Myers had multiple sequels. He's a one-off killer, but he's still memorable. Whereas the killer in my even Art, if let's say they never made a Terrifier 2, you would still remember Art the Clown just because of the distinct outfit. The killer in The Prowler is just a guy in an army outfit. So I'll talk about that more tomorrow, though. But let's get into Terrifier. So the film starts. Some radio talk show host interviewed a woman who's disfigured, basically a survivor of the terror. I do like the build up to this because she's a survivor of the Art the Clown attacks, and then they mentioned that he's alive, and then the woman freaks out. You see it. It's like a little, I don't know what you want to call it, montage. It's like almost like a getting ready montage. Like you see him put on the makeup and stuff, which I actually kind of like. And the thing that makes Art creepy, even just in this, he doesn't talk. He's like Michael Myers, but he's not hulking like Myers though. He's like a guy. He's a guy you would just think, oh, he's playing a clown, but he's like a mind clown. Because he does look normal. He just looks like and it's technically Halloween night. So, in a way, this is a Halloween film. I never thought of it as a Halloween film because it doesn't even really market itself as a Halloween film. It's just Terrifier. But it really is a Halloween film. At least the first one. I think the second one, too. I think the second one also takes place on Halloween. It is a Halloween film. But while this happens, Monica basically makes fun of the woman, and then and then the disfigured woman overhears, and then you get this scene where she attacks her, which, to be fair, this scene really you didn't need. I didn't really think you needed this scene. I would have rather them shown Art do an opening kill than this scene. It was still gory, but it didn't lead anywhere. It's not like she comes back or anything. She just kind of appears. I don't know if they were going for, like, Art's, like, craziness. Maybe that's what they were going for, but it just got lost in translation. Like, maybe they're going for Art's, like, crazy carries over, but it gets lost in translation, because it's just random. And then Tara and Dawn, this is where we're introduced to our, I guess, protagonists. And Tara, the lead, is fine. Or the reason I call her the lead is she's basically the lead throughout the movie until Vicky kind of becomes her sister, becomes the final girl towards the end. But for like a bulk of this movie, you're really following Tara and her friend Dawn. They leave a party, they encounter Art, who acts weird, and it sense. I will say, I do like that the actress who played Tara really does feel like she's scared. Like, she's off-putting, just put it by, like, just the meeting she had with Art. Like, that's all she can think about. Like, even well after they left the pizzeria and they go to Dawn's car and it's been slashed, which it's clearly Art who did it. And then while this happens, Art kills, because he gets thrown out. There's a scene he gets thrown out of the store. And then you have a scene where, I do think this scene was well done. I think this is really where you get Art's basically first on-screen kill, where he kills the pizzeria people. Because, well, the one guy, the guy threw him out. He gets killed off screen, and you just see his head be a pumpkin. And then he kills the other guy, like slices. This is the one where you actually see it. So Tara calls her sister, Vicky, to pick her up, who she initially was reluctant, but then I think her neighbor clearly came over like a party and is making out with some random guy. She's like, you know what, yeah, I could go. And then Mike is a pest control worker who, I guess he's doing a late night job, because while this is going on, Tara needs to use the bathroom. She was initially just going to go outside, but then they see Mike come out of the building, and she asks him to use the bathroom, and then he basically initially doesn't want to agree because she's not technically supposed to let people in, but then he's like, all right, you can use it really quick. And I will say, her friend Dawn, I get it, she's supposed to mimic being drunk, but it came off bad. It came off like bad acting than actually being drunk, if you know what I mean. Like, there's a way to act drunk and it still come off realistic, and there's a way to do it and just be over the top. Like, I get it, there are people who get pretty drunk and all that, but there's a way to still make it feel realistic and not over the top, you know. And then while she uses the bathroom, Dawn is talking. She thinks, because she sees someone come in the car, but she thinks it's her friend Tara. And then she looks over, it's Art, which I do think this scene was probably one of my favorite Art moments. He looks over and he just starts smiling. It's pretty well done. Like, I think Art, just the little bit you get of him, you're like, okay, this motherfucker is creepy. And I'm going to talk about this more when we get Terrifier 2. The fact that Terrifier 2 was better than a Halloween film, because Halloween Ends came out that same year, is crazy to me. And it really shows that Art's the new guy in town, man. And I think the only thing is, with these movies, I think they're not as palpable as normies. I'm just gonna say it. Some normies are gonna get turned off how gory they are. Because even Saw, they're gory, but there's I'm gonna say it, there's a good story, at least the first couple. So it's like, okay. Whereas Terrifier, I'm gonna say it, the first one, you show this to a normie who's not an horror, they'll just say, yeah, this is a bad movie. The acting's bad, it looks cheap. You might get some good kills, but some people might think that some of the gore is excess, especially in the second one. I don't think the gore is as bad as in the first one, but definitely by the second one. I love the gore in the second one, but I'm talking about to normies, they would be people who will say that's just excessive. You know, and I think that aspect might turn off some people. It's even with some people with Halloween Kills, they thought that was too much for Michael Myers. They feel like going overly gory is just try hard. There are just some people like that, you know? They just feel like you don't need to rely on blood and guts, and I feel like that's what people would just see this movie as. Yeah, there's some random cat lady who kind of just lives in this building, I guess. And as Tara gets out of the bathroom, she gets attacked by Art, who at this point, I guess, has Dawn captured. And then he manages to finally capture Tara, sorry. He manages to capture Tara by injecting her injects her with some kind of sedative. And then Tara wakes, and this is where you get probably the most iconic scene from this movie, where Art forces her to watch him slice her friend Dawn in half with a saw. Pretty brutal fucking scene. This scene, they go all the fuck out, man. I will say, even me as someone, I can handle most gore. I'm oof. Even I was oof. And definitely by the second one, there are some moments in that second Terrifier film, I'm like, okay, guys, even that's a bit much for me. And I can handle, generally, most horror gore nowadays, I can handle. Even, like, some of the stuff in, like, some of the Wrong Turn movies get pretty gory. I can usually handle that stuff. Like, yeah, they go pretty hardcore. Even in this film, like, this scene alone is pretty hardcore. And then Tara tries to escape. And then I do like the fake out, because they do make you think she's the final girl. Because even the way she reacts to Art in the beginning, she does have that lead aspect about, no, she gets killed shortly after. He ends up shooting her. Well, she initially has the advantage, like he's beating her, or no, she's beating him with like some kind of, I think it's a piece of wood or something like that you beat people with. So she was beating him up, seemingly like having the advantage, and then she gets close to him and he pulls a gun out and shoots her. Like, out of nowhere. Like, which is pretty innovative, because it's one of the few slashers that actually will flat out use a gun. Like, Chucky uses a gun, but he doesn't just, most of the time, he doesn't use it to kill people. He kind of just will sometimes get a hold of it, take someone hostage, but rarely does he just use it. Most of the time, he's going to stab. So it's kind of innovative that Art just actually uses a fucking gun. It's pretty innovative. I remember watching, he uses a fucking gun? Like, as a gun? Not like what Michael Myers did in Halloween 4 and, like, stabbed someone with it. And then, yeah, he attacks Mike, seemingly killing him, because there's a moment he comes back later and, yeah, then, the cat lady shows Art compassion, because, you know, she's a squatter. Essentially, she's a homeless person, a crazy homeless lady. And then Vicky arrives, and then that's when she's basically a real final girl of the film. There's no real, like, there's a final girl, but she just more happens to be the final girl because she arrives later. And the cat lady is dead. Yeah, there's a scene where, yeah, this scene's pretty fucked. I'm not gonna lie, I remember watching it the first time. He's basically wearing her boobs and her scalp. It is fucked. I remember watching it the first, like, what the fuck? I'm like, okay, this movie goes hard, man. It's like, bro, I was like, that's some, like, fucking Buffalo Bill shit. I was like, and then, yeah, he chases her. He ends up killing Will. And then, yeah, Mike manages to knock Art out, but then Art wakes up and kills him for real this time. And then, so Vicky does get shot, but the cops arrive, so she actually survives. So Vicky is alive. So it just ends with her. You get kind of, and yeah, we get the reveal that she's the disfigured woman. So I guess in a way you do find out what happened, like, I guess in that sense. So that was cool. I gotta say, Terrifier 1, decent film. Like, the more I think about it now, like, yeah, it didn't give you a lot of lore about Art, which is good, especially the first film. You introduce a killer, to me, it should be more about what the killer can do. Then in the sequels, if you want to get into the lore and its backstory, that's obviously not go too much into it. But, like, if you want to get more into backstories in the later films, like, even in Nightmare film, you get a little bit of a backstory with Freddy, but that's more towards the end. They still show you what Freddy can do first, then you get into more of his backstory later on. I think I like that style of what they're doing with Art here. This was more of a concept film of what Damien Leone wanted to do with this character. This wasn't a film. Like, there's no real final girl. Yeah, Vicky, but that was more to reveal. Vicky was just there to do the setup later that she's the woman, she's the disfigured lady earlier on. That's it. There's no real final girl. Not like Sienna from the second one, who was like a Sydney. Like I think a Sienna, I think Shaw is her name from the second film. That's one you can kind of compare to like a Laurie Strode, Sidney Prescott, and Nancy Thompson. You can't really compare this girl either, because Tara gets killed, and then Vicky's just there so you can have the reveal later on that she's a disfigured woman. That's it. There's nothing more with the character besides that. And it's not like she comes back. They make a new lead for the second one. So this was more of just a concept film. This was never, like, there was no real final girl, because this was more about, like, what art can do as a character. So, and I think in that sense, this film delivered. So, I have fun with it. I can go back and watch, you know, Terrifier 1. A lot of the acting isn't great. It's not really shot well. You can tell the camera they use is kind of cheap. But overall, it's still an enjoyable movie, you know. So, that's why I'm still giving it a 7. It's a solid slasher. It knows what it is. A perfect way to introduce art. I love the mystery about him. You don't know what the fuck this guy is. You just see this creepy clown guy who just doesn't talk. Kills you. And I love the innovativeness. He's one of the only slashers that uses a gun. As a gun. You know? Especially in his slasher genre. To see a slasher just actually use a gun as a gun, you know? And I just think the look's creepy, you know? I will say the only downside to these movies as a slasher fan is I would love to get more normies into it, but I just don't think these are ones you can get, because Halloween, at least that first one, is not a gory film. It's not. Like, I think, yeah, some of the later Halloween films get gory, but I think you could slowly build up to that. It had already been the gore. Friday the 13th, even in some of the Nightmare films, are almost done more comedically, especially Friday the 13th. Yeah, there's a scene where Jason punches the guy's head off. That's clearly done for comedy. That's not necessarily done to be scary. Whereas Terrifier, it's legit gore. Like, it's really gory. The matter is, there's just some people who can't watch that. So I think that's the only, like, thing that can cut or could potentially hurt this franchise. It's not easy to get normies into it. Like, I feel like you can easily get normies in Halloween and Scream and Nightmare and some of those other ones, because, like, at least the first Halloween is not gory at all. There's not a lot of kills in general in that film. In the first Scream, where there is, like, you know, the scene where Steve gets ripped apart, that's as gory as it really gets. Well, him, and then the scene where you see Casey Becker's death. But aside from those two kills, a lot of the rest of the kills aren't that gory. Like, you don't see, like, intestines hanging out like you saw with Steve. And I think even Casey got gutted. She got fucked up. Like, I've seen a still of, like, her from the tree. Like, they're out there. She got fucked up. So, but arguably, those are the only really two gory scenes. Like, you can still get normie into it. Like, Terrifier, and especially Terrifier 2. Like, especially 2. 2 does a typical, what a horror sequel should do, a slasher sequel specifically. You up the carnage candy, and they definitely do. So, there's even some that gets me, and I'm a fucking horror, like, I don't know if I can call myself a vet, but I love, like, I can handle most gore. So that's why it's like, if it's shit that can kind of get me even, that's what I mean. A normie would fucking, I don't even know if they would be able to make it through the fucking movie. Especially the second one. I don't even know how far they would probably, like, watch 2 seconds of the second one and already want to be done. Because, yeah, the second one goes all out in the gore. Like, so, I actually think I want to make that more of a topic maybe one day, because I didn't think that's one thing I think could hold Art back as a character, is his movies. And that's fine. Like, you know, at the end of the day, if I don't have a problem with the movie existing because you just want to make it just for hardcore fans. There's nothing wrong with that occasionally existing, where there's something just for hardcores and you just want to keep it a niche. I'm okay with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I just saying is like if you wanted art to get to Myers and some of the other slasher status, I just don't know. The movies, they're good if you're a slasher fanatic like me who can handle a lot of gore, but there's just some people who can't. And even people who like horror, but they can watch Hannibal's horror. I don't know if they want to deal with Terrifier. It's not even that they can't handle gore. There's just some people who just don't like it. They think they would just say, as an art thing, they would just be like, this is just all gore. There's nothing more to this movie besides all gore. At least Michael Myers, there's these interesting, the way his movements and all that. Like, there's these little things. But for me personally, I love Terrifier. I think art's creepy, and I'm all for a new slasher. I've been saying we need something new, and it's nice to actually have something new. That, even John Carver, or the Carver, whatever you want to call him, from the latest Thanksgiving movie that came out last year. That to me is what I want. So, anyways, guys, I'm gonna get ready to call it here. I'm gonna be reviewing The Prowler tomorrow afternoon. Next Saturday, no Pin Down podcast next Saturday, but we will be doing Bash in Berlin / probably I don't know if we're gonna be doing a SmackDown review or just Bad Blood predictions, but we should be doing that for the channel, and probably a Dynamite review on Wednesday. So sub to Pin Down podcast. Watch. I'm gonna fucking advertise the hell of this again. Watch our review of the Vince doc. We just did a whole doc of my buddy Lethal Lightning, and reviewed the entire Vince doc. Go watch it. It's only 2 hours. Go check that out. But yeah, so I'm ready to call it here. And I'll talk to you guys later.